This video is supported by Nas.io. It's a platform like Patreon where you can support your favorite creators, but it's way better. I'll explain how later on in this video. Funny thing about this video, originally it was supposed to be a comment below this video, but it became so long that I thought, you know what, it might as well be a response video. So here we go. Hi Gaurav, I hope this video reaches you. Maybe someone will share with you, maybe the YouTube algorithm itself will do it. Because what I wanna do with you is have a discussion about this video. Now you see yourself in the video that you're proud of coming from a culture that encourages logical debates and discussions.
बहुत सारे एग्जाम्पल्स आपको थ्रू आउट इंडियन हिस्ट्री मिलेंगे जहां पे डिबेट्स को काफी ज्यादा एंकरेज किया गया है एंड दिस जस्ट शोज कि इंडिया इज अ लैंड ऑफ ट्रूथ सीकर्स not preachers.
That's what I hope to do with this video. Rationally, with logical examples, I'm gonna make this claim.
You see, जब facts की बात आती है तो ये बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है कि हम भावुक होकर नहीं बल्कि rationally एक काफी unbiased तरीके से चीजों पर नजर डालें.
This video he's made, it turns out, is the least rational, most biased way in which this topic could have been covered. I'll explain why. As always, I'll link the video down below. You can watch it and form your own opinions. My name's Pranav. You're watching Science is Dope. Let's begin. Before getting into the details presented in the video, I need to say a few things, set some context. I really respect Gaurav as a content creator and his channel as a science channel because I've seen his video before, and when it comes to pure science, he does a really good job of covering the topic well. But when religion comes into the topic, like in this case, the conclusions made are extremely biased in favor of Hinduism. Now, I don't want to just say that. I will back up my points as this video goes on. I want to first address another such video where they talked about how the Pythagorean theorem was first mentioned in Indian scriptures before the time of Pythagoras in something called the Baudhayana Sulba Sutra. And I thought that was a perfectly reasonable video, a reasonable way of covering that topic. He even gave credit to Egyptians and Babylonians who used the same principle before Baudhayana. I even commented below their video, which they have also pinned under the video. You might remember how I mentioned that the Baudhayana Sulba Sutra claim was a legitimate claim in my Vedic maths video. Now, I want to bring your attention to the comment. While most of the replies to the comment were positive, there were some hate replies too. And I want to show you some of them to highlight the typical image some people have formed in their heads about my channel. What is a Western D-Rider doing here? Last time I checked, I wasn't the one looking for Western scientists to validate my religion, saying things like Carl Sagan loves Hinduism or Oppenheimer quoted the Bhagavad Gita. I've demystified these claims in a recent video, link below. इस इंसान का लक्ष्य है हिंदू स्क्रिप्चर को कैसे गलत साबित करें. Yeah, I don't do that. This is the typical opinion someone might have of my channel when they've not watched my videos and looked at just the thumbnails and formed an opinion. Typical judging a book by its cover mentality, because I've said so many times in my videos that I have no problem what religion you choose to follow or what beliefs you hold as long as you realize it's a faith. But once it starts making its way into public policy or once it starts affecting other people, that's where I have a problem. And trying to link science and religion, as this video does, gives people the wrong idea about how science works. And it greatly affects people's scientific temper, making them prone to scams like coronal. Now, I'm not gonna cover that here again. You can watch this video to learn more. Or you can be like this person who's formed an image in his head about my channel without hearing what I have to say. Such an image is all people need to type comments like these. You can find similar comments below this video, I'm sure. Just have a look. Let's now come back to the video at hand. When I first saw it, I thought it would be similar to that first video I talked about, a reasonable, rational investigation into the claims made. He even says so in the beginning.
क्योंकि मैं एक साइंस चैनल चलाता हूं तो मेरा ये एक साइंटिफिक कर्तव्य, साइंटिफिक धर्म बनता है कि मैं चीजों को कभी भी फेस वैल्यू पे बिलीव नहीं करूं और डिटेल में जाकर उस पर रिसर्च करूं और सच्चाई को आपके सामने लाऊं.
But in reality, this video only caters to the biases of their majority audience, sometimes misrepresenting or even outright distorting facts to reach a certain conclusion. The investigation seemingly done was only just enough to make some of these conclusions look legitimate. All this video does is confirm the biases of those watching. As a science communicator, it's our job to represent science correctly. People should understand how the process of science works. Their takeaway should be about how these pre-scientific era books that were written when people had no access to telescopes were able to determine the speed of light. That's what people need. Instead of just saying, hey, the scriptures found the speed of light to be this much. That only confirms the impression that science is basically like magic.
Sharks, मैं आपको एक बहुत ही अद्भुत साइंटिफिक मैजिक दिखाने वाला हूँ.
People don't learn how science knows what it knows, which is what makes it legitimate knowledge. Anyway, that's only one example. He does it several times in the video. I'll talk about it in detail. Now, why does he say all this? I can only guess. Maybe it's to increase the views on the video. While this video itself is not sponsored, sponsors do look at the average views on videos on the channel. So saying something that the audience loves to hear definitely increases views on the videos. For me personally, I don't like to be at the mercy of brands, which is why I don't go for them. If I ever do, I want the brand's message to be completely independent of the topic of the video, or I want direct support from my audience. When I discovered a platform where I can do both, I cannot tell you how overjoyed I was. Let me introduce you to Nas.io. It's like Patreon but way better. It's a platform for both creators and their fans to form communities. And it's extremely convenient for both because it integrates into other apps where you may already have communities. Like WhatsApp, Discord, Telegram, Slack, LinkedIn, Facebook, and of course basic email lists. They have a feature called Magic Reach where with the click of a single button, you can send your entire community a message on all platforms. No more copying messages from one place and pasting it in another place. Just use Magic Reach. If you're a creator yourself, then you'll know the plight that one goes through when sharing content across multiple platforms. Now let's talk about this community on Nas.io. Creators have the option of making it free or making it a paid community, where they provide special perks like plan meetup events or give access to exclusive content or sell merch, courses, products, newsletters, etc. The potential is just endless. And the best thing is, it's not just for creators. Any individual or business that wants to create and manage communities, share knowledge or get analytics from them can use Nas.io. And if you're a creator, you can just go to the Nas.io website and set up your page for free and link your existing communities to it. And there's a reason why I said it's better than Patreon. It integrates into multiple payment modes, including UPI, which makes it the best platform for India. There's also other payment modes like credit card, PayPal, etc. But the moment I heard WhatsApp and UPI, I was sold. For a creator based in India, this is huge. You know, I was waiting for something like this to come along because look at everything I just told you. I have no idea why this wasn't there earlier. Personally, I'm going to be starting a WhatsApp community of my own using Nas.io, which I'll tell you more about at the end of the video. But if you want to join, it's nas.io/scienceisdope, link in the description. Let's now look at what he actually covers in the video. He begins by summarizing what S. Somnath, the ISRO chief, recently said in his speech.
एस सोमनाथ जी ने कहा कि हमारे वेदास में जो नॉलेज था अबाउट अलजेब्रा, स्क्वायर रूट, कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ टाइम, फॉर्मेशन ऑफ सोलर सिस्टम, पाइथागोरस थ्योरम, ये सभी नॉलेज अरबिक ट्रैवलर्स के माध्यम से वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज तक पहुंचा था.
But wait, that's not all he said, right?
Many other concepts like the concept of Vimana, architecture, the construction technologies.
You didn't say that in the video. And Vimanas is an outright pseudoscientific claim. I've analyzed that claim thoroughly here in this video, link below. But Gaurav seems to have cherry-picked only these 5. And nobody seems to have noticed. Okay, let's see what he says about it.
In fact, उन्होंने अपने इन क्लेम्स को जस्टिफाई करते हुए उन बुक्स के नाम भी बताए जिसमें ये नॉलेज मेंशन्ड है, जैसे कि सूर्य सिद्धांता, पंच सिद्धांतिका, वेदांगा ज्योतिषा, आर्यभटिया, भास्करा 1 and 2, ब्रह्मस्फूत सिद्धांता, etc.
Wait, they're not actually from the Vedas? I thought you said, okay, it doesn't matter. You're still gonna investigate the claims, right?
एस सोमनाथ सर के क्लेम्स को क्रॉस वेरीफाई करने के लिए हमने हमारे सभी बुक्स के कॉन्सेप्ट्स, मीनिंग, ट्रांसलेशन, हर एक बात को गौर से पढ़ा और सरप्राइजिंगली हमें उनमें ये सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स मिले, ऑल द वे रेंजिंग फ्रॉम हाउ प्लैनेट्स मूव अराउंड द सन.
Wait, that's not what Somnath said, right?
Size of Earth, reasons of eclipse, gravity, speed of light, age of the universe, time dilation, atomic theory or quantum physics.
That's completely different from what was said in the speech. So Gaurav has chosen his own topics to investigate and it has nothing to do with the speech. Then why we referring to Somnath at all in the beginning?
अब ऑब्वियसली बात है, इस एक वीडियो में ये सभी कॉन्सेप्ट्स को कवर करना नामुमकिन सा है और इसीलिए हमने सिर्फ उन्हीं कॉन्सेप्ट्स को चूज किया, जैसे ग्रेविटी, एज ऑफ द यूनिवर्स, टाइम डायलेशन, एटॉमिक थियरी और क्वांटम फिजिक्स.
Okay, so you're not covering all of your own topics also. Great. You know, I was actually really curious what you were going to say about planets moving around the sun because that's something you cannot observe or deduce without using a telescope. In fact, the first person to observe and confirm that the planets did move around the sun was Galileo, the first person to observe the sky with a telescope. I talk about this, explaining his observations and the reason for this conclusion over in this video, link below. So yeah, I'd really like to know what Gaurav found in Indian scriptures about how planets go around the sun. Anyway, let's not dwell on it. He picks these topics and presents his unbiased investigation. Now, it doesn't really matter that he didn't cover all of what Somnath said or even all of what he himself said, but it shouldn't go unnoticed that the sheer number of topics he was able to list out in this whole process often inflates the ego of someone who's watching, irrespective of whether they're true or not. The whole video then becomes about catering to this audience. Also, I'm sure I've popped a lot of egos with that statement, as I'm sure you can tell by the amount of hate comments below this video. Let's see what he presents on these points. This whole section is trying to find some lines in scripture and find some resemblance between the lines and quantum physics.
यहां पर एटम्स और उससे जुड़ी इल्यूजन ऑफ रियलिटी की बात हो रही है एंड इन दोनों को अगर आप एक साथ विजुअलाइज करोगे तो आपके दिमाग में कौन सा कॉन्सेप्ट आता है? क्वांटम फिजिक्स, राइट?
And then there's an appeal to the authority of Schrödinger and Heisenberg. For example, in the case of Schrödinger, he says this.
Schrödinger कह रहे हैं, this life of yours which you are living is not merely a piece of the entire existence, but is in a certain sense the whole. Only this whole is not so constituted that it can be surveyed in one single glance.
This sentence has nothing to do with quantum physics. Just because Schrödinger was a pillar of quantum mechanics doesn't mean every single thing he said had quantum mechanics in it. Like I said, an appeal to authority. This whole thing of trying to find a resemblance and validation with quantum mechanics lasts for about 4.5 minutes. And then there's about 30 seconds of Gaurav trying to balance all that out by saying that science gives us a mathematical framework for quantum physics which is not there in the scriptures, and then jumps right back by appealing to the authority of Werner Heisenberg. Like, how is any of this rational? How is this an unbiased way of presenting this topic? Let's watch that clip.
उन्हें ये रियलाइज हुआ कि जिस अनसर्टेनिटी प्रिंसिपल को वो वियर्ड समझ रहे थे और एंटायर क्वांटम फिजिक्स को काफी अनइंटुइटिव समझ रहे थे, अगर कभी उसे वैदिक लोगों को इंट्रोड्यूस किया जाए तो सभी भारतीय उसे आसानी से एक्सेप्ट कर लेंगे क्योंकि हम ऑलरेडी वेदास से इंस्पायर्ड हैं.
Whoa, as a Bharatiya, I feel really proud. The irony of that statement lies in the fact that the only people who will feel pride after hearing that statement are the ones who know absolutely no quantum physics but are now feeling proud about how they can intuitively understand quantum physics. If this isn't an attempt to inflate the egos of the audience, I don't know what is. Let's see what else he said. Unlike classical Newtonian physics, which assumes quantities like distance covered and passage of time are constant, we experimentally learned around the 1900s. There's this famous Michelson-Morley experiment which showed us that the constant quantity is actually the speed of light. When something travels so fast that it approaches the speed of light, it's the quantities length and time that contract and dilate respectively, and this is where we get time dilation from. And this soon led to Einstein proposing his revolutionary theory of relativity. You see, everything scientifically accepted has an experimental or observational, basically an evidential basis for it. But this video covers none of that. Let's look at what he says.
अब इन दोनों भी ट्रांसलेशन से ये काइंड ऑफ समझ में आ रहा है कि यहाँ पर दो अलग अलग रेल्म्स या फिर कह सकते हैं इवन डायमेंशंस में टाइम के रिलेटिव होने की बात चल रही है। यानी कि जब पृथ्वी पर 1000 युग बीतते हैं तो ब्रह्मा का एक दिन बीतता है। यानी क्लियरली टाइम एब्सोल्यूट नहीं है बल्कि रिलेटिव है।
Time dilation has nothing to do with this. It is simply a consequence of relativity, where if you travel close to the speed of light, or when you experience high gravitational fields, the rate at which you experience time changes as per this formula. Finding a resemblance between this and the passage of time in the human world and Brahma's world doesn't mean it's talking about time dilation. It's simply mythological fiction. Great imaginative and creative fiction, but fiction nonetheless. Where is the science here? Where is any evidence? Also, you just jumped to the conclusion that this was knowledge. Isn't that a flawed interpretation from your side? I mean, you can't take something straight out of mythology and call it knowledge. In that case, did we also have knowledge that there exists a separate world of Brahma separate from our world, that there are gods that grant wishes if you please them, that there are flying Vanaras who can carry mountains, that there are giants who fought in battles? I mean, if you're calling one thing in a book knowledge, why aren't you calling everything in that book knowledge? That is the definition of cherry picking. If I got something wrong in this video, I'd like to know directly from you in a response to this video, or at least in a comment. But if you say nothing, I'm gonna assume you aren't denying any of what I'm saying. Moving on. Here Gaurav agrees that the age of the universe has not been calculated accurately in any ancient text, but I'm surprised he's even taking any of these values seriously. The values accepted by modern science are on the basis of strong evidence. Does it even deserve a comparison with values written in some mythological text? What's the basis of these values other than some creative imagination? Why should we consider this to be in the domain of knowledge? Again, I need to stress this point. As a science communicator, the last thing we should do is give people misconceptions about how science works. We don't want to give people the impression that people in some ancient civilization knew everything magically.
He sat there with his eyes closed and saw that if you go deep enough into this, there is an evolutionary memory in this.
No, the only way to know something about the real world or about something that affects the real world is through evidence. Something that we observe through one of our senses or we infer from one of these observations. If we don't have evidence as a basis for this, can we even say that we know anything about it? Gravity also gets a similar conclusion from him, that it's not really there in any of the scriptures. There is no obvious but needless attempt to play a balancing act. But I think it would have helped at least a little bit to say that whatever was concluded was not really based on any evidence, or at least we don't have any evidence to say that. Anyway, we now move on to the most incriminating part of this video. Remember I talked about facts being distorted to reach a certain conclusion? That was done over here. Let's see what exactly was done.
I bow down to the sun who travels 2202 yojanas in half a nimesha.
The sun travels that distance or light from the sun travels that distance? I don't know, it's too vague to tell. Let's assume the verse is talking about light. Even then we have problems. These units, yojana and nimesha, he does mention that there's a possibility of misinterpretation because these are non-standard units from ancient India.
क्योंकि इसमें ancient India में इस्तेमाल होने वाले units को use किया है. जिसे आसानी से मिस इंटरप्रेट किया जा सकता है अपने अपने नैरेटिव को सूट करने के लिए.
But then goes on to present the calculations as if there's no uncertainty involved. I'll show you what the uncertainties are. To start deriving the value of the yojana unit, he starts with another unit, one dhanu, which he takes as 6 feet on average. Where did he get this value from? I don't know. 8,000 dhanus is 1 yojana, so 1 yojana equals 8,000 times 6, which is 48,000 feet or 9.09 miles. Wait a second. If you remember the Hanuman Chalisa distance to the sun claim, you'll notice that this value of 9 miles is different from the value of yojana used for that claim, which is 1 yojana equals 8 miles. If you know this claim, it says Yuga Sahasra Yojana is the distance to the sun, which is 12,000 times another 1,000 times 8. And they got a value which is like a few percentage points off from the measured value we know today. So what should one believe, that claim or this one? Because only one can be right. But both can be wrong though, because yojana can take other values too. But if you're interested, I've talked about these flaws with the Hanuman Chalisa claim over in this video. Link below. But it's definitely the case, as you say in your video, people pick the value
अपने अपने नैरेटिव को सूट करने के लिए.
Anyway, we're not done yet. Let's get back to his claim, and now he makes a calculation error. He says 2202 times 9.09 equals 18,379 miles. If you do some basic math, you will see that the product of this multiplication is actually 20,016.18. The problems don't end there though. He says 1 nimisha is equal to 0.2 seconds. No reasons given as to why he's taking that value. No mention of how there may be an uncertainty in the value. Nimisha is actually said to be the twinkle of an eye. That's what he shows in his own video. Why does that make it 0.2 seconds? We don't know. But he goes on to calculate the speed of light using this flawed value of nimisha and this incorrect value of distance covered to arrive at a speed value which is 1.33% off, and then acts really impressed.
It was really damn so accurate.
Now here's what I would have done. I would have looked at all these numbers and seen that 8 seconds is 5 of these, so 1 nimisha, by doing some basic math, I know is 8 by 15 seconds, which is a little over half a second. But of course, you'd need all these manipulations if you want to arrive at that 1.33% result. Some of the people watching this, I'm sure, are lapping it up. Really, I'm surprised that nobody in your team noticed this error and just released the video. You do realize that hundreds of thousands of people are going to be influenced and maybe even inspired by this video. And they're going to go around telling people how we knew in ancient India what the speed of light was. And as a reference, they're going to show this video. And they're going to end up looking like absolute fools when someone points out all these errors. So just think about this, okay? All of what you're doing, does it make India look good or does it make India look bad? You speak so much about being rational and being unbiased, yet not a word in this whole video about how this value might have been derived. No rational look at the fact that the experimentally determined value of speed of light used telescopes and the knowledge of the orbits of Jupiter and its satellites and that of the Earth around the sun. There's no evidence of any of these from India, and I mean a proper heliocentric model from India. These values must hence be looked at skeptically. That is how you make a rational conclusion. If this kind of uncertain values and poor calculation is all it takes to make you feel proud, then all you're doing is just satisfying your wishful thinking. If this isn't a result of extreme bias, then I know what is. Surprisingly, the video is not over, there's still more to go. He makes 2 more major points. And this first one is probably the point in the video that makes least sense. Despite all the other senseless things that I've already shown you, let's watch.
अब ये दोनों एक्सट्रीमिटीज वाले सोच रखना क्यों गलत है? क्योंकि इस वजह से कट्टर धार्मिक इंसान विज्ञान को पूरी तरीके से नहीं स्वीकारता और कट्टर वैज्ञानिक दृष्टिकोण वाला इंसान हमारे वैदिक कल्चर को गर्व और सम्मान की नजरों से नहीं देख पाता.
When someone says that the shape of the earth is neither flat nor round, it's somewhere in the middle, how silly does that sound to you? Can I just say that it's two extremes and a better stance would be to take the middle ground? No, right? We conclude that the earth is round because the evidence says so. If you believe that the earth is flat, I'm sorry buddy, but you've been misled. Here too, choosing the middle ground between religion and science is not the smart thing to do as what is being presented. You look at the evidence and let it lead where you should go. And when I say evidence, you look at what your sources are, you think rationally about what your conclusions are, and the biases that might have led you there. You think about people from other social circumstances, other genders, or people from other religions or other countries and think, would they make the same conclusions when shown all this? Or is this true only for me? Wait, that's not how truth works. There's only one truth for you and me, no matter who we are as people. See how skepticism helps you spot red flags in what you're being told? Clearly, Gaurav or whoever wrote the script for this video failed to think in this way. Or maybe they did, but decided not to mention any of that in the video, fearing they might not get views. I don't know the reason, but let's move on to the last and final point.
वैदिक टाइम्स में 6 ऐसे स्कूल्स ऑफ थॉट्स बने थे जो आस्तिक सोच के जरिए ब्रह्मांड का उल्लेख करते हैं, और 5 ऐसे स्कूल्स ऑफ थॉट्स बने थे जो नास्तिक प्रवृत्ति से ब्रह्मांड को डिस्क्राइब करते हैं, और ये सभी मिलकर वैदिक फिलॉसफी comprise होती है.
Anyone who knows a bit about Indian philosophies can tell you that this is plain wrong. You can say Astic plus Nastic equals Indian philosophy. Astic schools accept Vedas as an authority and Gnostic schools reject the Vedas as an authority. So how can they be part of a Vedic school of philosophy? You can literally Google non-Vedic schools of Indian philosophy and look at any source you like and you'll find that the answers are these Gnostic schools.
और ये हमारे कल्चर की सबसे गौरवपूर्ण विशेषता है कि हमें किसी भी चीज पर आंखें बंद करके विश्वास करना नहीं सिखाया गया.
I don't understand how this can be a conclusion for a video that hasn't done any questioning or any logical reasoning or skeptical inquiry for the claims that it accepts as true. Isn't that the literal definition of blind belief?
जो चारवाकास और जैन मॉन्क्स थे जो सिर्फ मटेरियल रियलिटी में ही बिलीव करते हैं, वो पुराने जमाने में एक आस्तिक किंग से तक तर्क के आधार पर एक रिस्पेक्टफुल डिबेट कंडक्ट कर सकते थे.
I hope, like you say, this video will lead to a respectful debate like the Gnostic monk and the Astic king. Or maybe that's too much for me to expect. I don't know. Anyway, that's all I had to say about this. If you like my content, you can support me on Patreon, Buy Me Coffee, UPI, YouTube memberships, thanks button, and now NAS.io. For creators like me, considering the topics I choose, fan support is really important and it's my primary source of income. And if you support me on NAS.io, you get several perks. You get to join my WhatsApp community and interact with me directly. It's a paid community because I don't want trolls coming in for free. And also, I'm gonna start doing meetup events across India. And I get to plan all this with you based on your votes, and possibly I might come to your city. You'll get early access to new videos. You get exclusive content like exclusive live streams. You get exclusive access to other stuff I might put out in future, like courses, ebooks, etc. And don't worry, if you already support me on any other platform like Patreon or YouTube already, at a price point above my NAS.io membership fee, you automatically get access to the WhatsApp group. Speaking of which, my supporters on Patreon and YouTube at the highest tiers will have their names displayed on my videos like this. Remember, my NAS.io membership link is in the description and the top comment. Join my community. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, remember, science is dope.